Emotionally driven events are the future of marketing. If you're not planning this way yet, you'd better start now, because here's the truth. If you've been planning events for years but haven't made the profit you want, it's not because you're not talented. It's because you're not designing emotionally engineered experiences. And if that sounds overly emotional, it's not. Emotional design is a proven revenue strategy. It's backed by neuroscience, it's backed by psychology, and I have years of case studies proving that it works. I am so passionate about this topic that I built an entire system around it. And today I'm going to show you why this is where the industry is going next. As I've been building the experiential edge, I forced myself to look back at every single event that I've ever planned. I've planned hundreds of them. And you know what surprised me? I don't remember the very first event that I planned. I don't remember it, not my professional event anyway. I don't remember the timeline. I don't remember the floor plan, who the caterer was. I don't even remember what state it was in. I don't know if it was in Colorado or Florida. But here's what I do remember. I remember specific moments along the way in my events. I remember I planned a 50th anniversary, like early on. And I then planned their 60th anniversary 10 years later. And one of the guests asked, she said, "Are you going to ship the same crab meat in that you made for the crab cakes from the last time?" That was 10 years. She remembered in 10 years. And I do make an amazing crab cake. But seriously, I remember my event with the pink couch. Not just because it was gorgeous and a fun statement piece, but it was designed for the guest of honor who was actually deceased. And it was meant to be an emotional piece for her husband who was throwing the event for her. Every guest wanted their picture on that pink couch. The client cried when I surprised him with it. And later, the fabricator gave it to me because of the story attached. And so now I have a pink couch. That was emotion. I remember the $1 billion acquisition where people were scared to come together with the other team across the globe. They were worried they wouldn't get along. I remember all of the gossip flying around, and I remember I came up with Charting Your Course, the 3-day conference that brought two groups together, strategizing ways to ensure people wouldn't just get along, but they would see themselves within this new company and build their own professional roadmap. I remember how impactful that was. And that was emotion. I remember the mitzvah where I wanted 120 over-the-top milkshakes to arrive at exactly the same time. The ta-da moments for the guest of honor so that he could present it to his crowd of guests. My team huddled in the freezer for hours, shivering, determined to make this moment happen for me. And when those shakes hit the room, that moment was electric. People still talk about it, how crazy it was that we actually executed it. And that was truly emotion. I remember the corporate holiday party that was canceled 48 hours prior to the event, then uncanceled because the person who hired me made a drunken panic decision while he was traveling for work. The layoff rumors just kicked in. Morale was on the floor and people were scared. So then during the event, I remember he got on one knee. He literally did the Tebow and explained everything to his team. It was raw. It was real. It was emotional. And guess what? That is the moment that everyone remembers. Not the hours I spent on the decor, not the food, not the budget, but the emotion. And so when I took a moment and I stepped back and I looked at all of these events, one pattern was obvious to me. The only moments that stick in my long-term memory are the ones that were charged with emotion. This isn't some woo-woo hippie shit. This is neuroscience. Emotion is what signals your brain. It's the trigger that says, hey, this matters. Remember it. Save it. So once I realized this, my most unforgettable events, they weren't just beautiful, they were emotionally engineered. So I said to myself, Jenny, you're onto something. This is a system. This is your system, and it's backed by science and strategy that can be made into a repeatable way to build events using emotionally charged moments to connect people and brands. And so that's ultimately why I built the Experiential Edge. It wasn't my decor skills that made my events legendary. A lot of people can design a pretty room. It was the thought that I put into the emotional architecture of the event. It was the personalization, the intentional triggers, the way each moment tied back to the brand's purpose. It wasn't just an event for me. It was a story the audience lived. And stories are what people remember and talk about and buy from. Now I have this broken into a 4-step blueprint that I use on every single event that I plan. So here is my formula. I define the purpose of the event. I then identify the emotion you need to trigger in the guests in the event. And then I engineer emotional touch points throughout the experience. And then I anchor these emotions back to the brand. That's it. 4 steps. Predictable, repeatable, profitable. And I'm releasing the full system at the beginning of 2026. I've been using it religiously. Because the future of marketing isn't in ads. It's not an impression. It's not in reach. It's emotional impact. It's what people remember. It's what people feel. And it's what moves people to action. Emotionally driven events are not a trend. They're not the next era of marketing. And if you learn how to engineer emotion, you won't just plan events. You'll create experiences that become stories, and stories sell. If you want to build events people actually remember, actually talk about, and actually spend money on, you need the experiential edge. This is emotional design for the next generation of event strategy. And trust me, the brands that learn this now will leave everyone else in the dust. So if you're interested in hearing more, click subscribe because I'm just getting started on this topic. There's so much more to come. Thank you for being here.